that is carried. Now from the Budget Committee, prior to motion, it would be in order if there's any councillors wish to bring a matter for reconsideration. Councillor Swan.
Thank you. The item is on top of page 3. It's the motion that the request for funding for the Moose Jaw Downtown Soccer Field House Facilities Inc. be tabled pending receipt of 2011 projection, as is required of other city-owned third-party facilities. If I could just address that.
Mr. Swanson.
We have a number of third-party facilities in the City of Moose Jaw that receive funding from the City of Moose Jaw: the Cultural Center, the Library, the Art Museum, Waccamaw, even the Police Service. All of them, when submitting requests for funding from City of Moose Jaw, the taxpayers of Moose Jaw, submit a proposed budget and also a budget outlining what they did with the money they received from the city in the previous year. This was not the case with downtown and soccer field house facilities, and so a motion was made that their requests be tabled pending receipt. And I want to make the point how sad it is that an elected official had to make that motion to ask that a third party requesting $1 million have to follow the same rules as everybody else that asked for money. What was even sadder was that vote passed by the narrowest of margins, 4-3. And I'd like to thank Councillor Looning and Councillor Mitchell and Councillor Eby for supporting that motion on behalf of taxpayers of the City of Moose Jaw, that a request for $1 million follows the same rules everybody else does. Sadder, but what was the saddest part is, thank goodness the motion passed and we received additional information which puts the request for funding from the downtown and soccer house in a completely different light than the original request. And what we find is that last year the facility received way more than it needed, as was the point I made at budget last year. And we hear nothing about how the request this year is diminished from last year. But if you look at the new information, the request for this year would be 50% more than what was required last year. And I'll be bringing this up in budget discussion, but I do not think it's the role of the taxpayers of the City of Moose Jaw to provide third-party boards with double they require so that they can establish reserves to use at their discretion. So I appreciate that this motion passed. It's most unfortunate that it was by the narrowest of margins, because it was only requesting the same transparency and accountability that all other third-party organizations who want from the taxpayers of Moose Jaw have to follow.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any further debate on the motion? There being none, then the question is the motion that the request for funding for the Moose Jaw Downtown and Soccer Field Facilities Inc. be tabled pending receipt of 2011 projections, as is required of other city-owned third-party facilities. Those in favour? Opposed? And that is carried. Are there any other items wishing to be raised? If not, it would be in order to have a motion that the report Budget Committee